Jamie Miller, keynote speaker for Impact Effect 23, The Art of Conscious Communication, man. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. I'm so happy we got you in the room in October for Impact Effect 23, man. How you doing, brother? How's things?
I'm great. When I said this to you on the phone when you first, I said, you've got me at Nashville. It sounded like kind of the Jerry Maguire moment. Like you had me at hello. Like you said, will you come to Nashville? Like it was like end of story. So I'm super excited and pumped for that event. So
Amazing. Amazing. Cool. Well, I got a couple questions for you, man. Everybody wants to know, and I want to dive into. So tell me a little bit about you, some things you've done in the past, your history, some accomplishments. Give us an idea of who Jamie Miller is and where you've been, brother.
Jim, you've been asked that question, or that's a question that you've asked other people, right? And it's typically like, tell me about yourself. And so everything I do is based around what's called conscious communication. So I wouldn't be really good or in my mind if I didn't practice what I preach. So when you ask me, Jamie, tell me about yourself, if I start just going off on a tangent about myself, I'm going with what I call, I'm going to go with the hope, pray, cross my fingers strategy. What I share about myself resonates with you and resonates with your audience, right? Like, so it would be an amateur approach to just go talking and telling you all about myself. Now, as people, when they watch this, they might be like, huh, he's got an accent, like, and I'm not putting it on, although I'm a proud American now, I drive a truck. I can share that with everyone. I drink coffee, like, so fun. But I guess what I'm going to do is to make this a lesson for everyone who watches this so they can maybe get excited about coming along. You've asked me to tell me about myself. I'm going to throw it back to you. It's not that I won't answer. It's, Jim, what do you think the audience would best like to know about me so that if they were to come along, when they find that out about me, they're like, yes, I want to learn from this guy. Can you see what I did there? And now I pass it over to you to tell me. And then I give you exactly what you want and what the audience wants to know, where I'm actually being authentic. I'm not making stuff up, but I know where I can deliver on things.
First question I come in at, and he's already utilizing the art of conscious communication, man. I love it. I love it. I love it. Uh, No, I'll play ball. I'm gonna jump in
Okay.
and say, our conversation we had, that's what they want. And the reason why I know that is because after you and I first spoke, I talked to a ton of people. I was going to two conferences right after that. And how you communicate, how you connect, and it was on so many different levels, right? Like our conversation wasn't business, it wasn't relationships, it wasn't parenting, it wasn't friendships, it wasn't geographic location, it wasn't what I wanted to do, where I wanted to bring this. It was all of it. And I think that is a very, very different thing that I don't experience often. And I don't think a lot of people do. And I think it's a skill that is very fine tuned with practice and, you know, continuing to do it and do it for the right reasons. So
Right.
that'd be my answer. Back to you.
Well, yeah, no, look, so I think if I ask you or anyone on the planet, do you believe, communication is important? Everyone in the world answers with a yes to that. And then I'll turn around to someone and be like, so, how much have you studied on it, communication? And some people say, and it baffles me about, oh, they'll talk about themselves, confess, like, I'm an excellent communicator. I'm like, oh, where you study? Like, I haven't. And I'm like, well, I guess I was just born in the wrong from the I think in the wrong way or something, because I've invested years of my life and tons of money into learning a lot of the things that I teach people. And what I can show you, communication, you're right, it affects not just our personal lives, our professional lives. I love it when a client tells me, Jamie, I didn't just hire you to put money in my pocket, I hired you to actually be a better mum to my kids. And I use communication from a comprehensive standpoint. Whereas if you're asking really amateur questions at home to your kids, the likelihood is it's crossing over into your business life and you're probably shooting from the hip, asking really bad questions. So one thing I can teach you is for the last over 2 decades of my life, all I've done is basically studied and watched from a psychology. I get asked a lot, Jamie, did you study psychology? I call it, I studied psychology of life. I studied, like, when I say X to someone, what reaction do I get? And to create a scenario where it's what's called, I call predictability. When I say to you, I'm a proud American, I drive a truck now, like, usually the person smiles or laughs in front of me. If, you know, when people go networking, for instance, that's a key thing. There's going to be networking at Impact 23. All right. And maybe people will love this, but like, people go networking and 99% of the world gets asked, what do you do? And they will come up with a statement. Now, you're a realtor. If you say, hi, I'm Jim Morris, nice to meet you. And they're like, what do you do, Jim? Like, I'm a realtor. You're like, I'm sure Nashville's not different from Florida. You've now put yourself into a ocean of other people who do the same thing as you, and you've not given any miscellaneous ingredients. So in terms of communication, basically, I have studied what is the right action to get this person to do at the right time. All right, when it comes to whether it's sending a text, sending an email, having an actual in-person interaction. You know, the goal of this interview with you right now is indeed to share something that resonates for the audience. All right, so I would pose a question where I'll ask the audience, has anything I've shared to this point, you know, got you intrigued to come along? And if they're saying yes, I'll be like, oh, wait till the next question that Jim asked me, you know, and then we go from there. But if they value, like we talked the other day, and the biggest thing for me is we care how we leave people feeling. Jim, you know, you've had me come along as a speaker, and I'm not the prima donna. It's kind of like I won't show up, leave. I'll be there the whole entire event to answer questions for people before I talk, after I talk. And you almost had this fortuitous notion, Jamie, there's going to be 3 other sessions after this where the people who get the privilege of being in that audience, they get access to us ongoing, Jim. And it's to give with, I do everything in life with no expectations of anything back. And if that's something that the audience can find attractive to try and to implement in their own lives, then it's still going to be an excellent scenario. So,
of course, I appreciate that, man. I'm excited. Getting schooled right now, learning some things, how to communicate better. This is good, man. This is good. Jamie, we have a theme, you know, one conversation away from changing the trajectory of your life, right? We're curating the room. We're putting certain people in there. We're calling, asking attendees, you know, what they're looking to do, who they're looking to meet. We're going to arrange seating. We've got, you know, 30 minutes in the middle of the day dedicated to intentional relationship building called the Relationship Rally. And it's just so important to us to build relationships. So that one conversation away, is there a time in your life where you had one conversation that just created massive change for you?
I don't know if you're going to find this answer interesting, but this is what comes to my mind. It's actually not been the external conversation that most people might think with someone else where they you know, had a powerful conversation with me. The conversations I find that most people have, Jim, all right, and I'm sure it's the conversations we have with ourselves. All right, is we talk to ourselves way more in our heads than we ever do externally to someone. And so I'm 46 now. My business was predicated on the conversation I had with myself when I was December 2018, and I was like, I've got to change what I'm doing. Like, I was traveling, speaking on behalf of other companies. All right, like, so someone like you would have a product or service, and you're like, you didn't want to leave your kids behind, so like, I would slap on a plane somewhere, be away from my family. And I had a conversation, where do I provide value for another human being, you know, in my life? And I was like, oh, I've studied all this stuff. And it came down to, and you've talked about entrepreneurs are coming to this event, they're struggling. All right, so maybe this is a conversation I have with myself, and it comes down to 3 questions. All right, the first one is, do I believe in myself? And I answer with a yes, I believe in myself. The next question I ask is, do I believe I can get someone else to believe that I can help them? All right, and then the third question, that conversation is, can I get them to place a high value on what I'm going to bring them? once I answered those 3 questions, Jim, I've got a website now people can go to, but the first 3 years of my business, no website. Never had a business card. I'm the most scruffiest speaker you'll probably see on the set when I'm there. And I actually do it by design, and it's to prove to people that the least professional I look, the more money I make. All right. And I'm going to let that register for people that if you do not want to be wearing a suit, I'm the guy who says you don't have to. If you don't you get to bring whatever you want to do in life. I assure you, I promise you, can be delivered. So if for people, because if for the struggling entrepreneurs that are in the room, it's how is your self-talk to yourself in the conversations you're having with yourself to get ahead. So again, that might not have been the answer that you're necessarily looking for. Obviously, there's conversations I've had with my dad growing up and different scenarios that are part of it, but that's the one that.
No, I think you're 100% correct, Jamie. At the end of the day, you can come to the conference. One of the biggest things I think is showing up, right? You've got to show up and be in the room to hear something differently. But I think you just hit on something that not a lot of people realize. And the reality is you can hear something, write it in the workbook that we're providing as an action item, and not execute it based on your own self-talk, right? So I think you just went a layer deeper, right? That's what your answer was you can show up, you can come, you've got to be in the right mindset, right, to receive information. You can take that information, but you may not execute it based on your own mind, your own limiting beliefs, your own poor self-talk, right? So I think it's important more than ever to bring that up, Jamie. I think that's an amazing answer. I think that's one of the most raw, real answers there is, because I can bring you the atmosphere. I can curate the room. I can increase the odds of high level conversations. I can bring in amazing speakers that will educate, that will, say something differently, that maybe that one tweak in your brain, but you've got to have the belief in yourself to execute, act on it, and live to your own potential.
So one of the things that was actually attractive, and again, this is not meant to be a love fest between myself and Jim, through this, but one of the things that resonated that you talked about was this whole notion of making your event different. And here's how. You said, Jamie, I don't want it to just be, we show up and then there's a sale of some, everyone's selling from stage something. All right. You want them this, and you want it as a speaker. It's not just one event, it's several events where we're actually going to give immense value. And it's interesting what you were just sharing. Here's what I heard. I'm not an accountability coach, and I'm certainly not a rah-rah coach. The idea is not someone come along, take the notes and everything and get pumped up, because rah-rah is very American. It's great. The cheerleader is a wonderful thing. To have cheerleaders in your life is wonderful. However, when you go with the cheerleader approach, maybe you're motivated for like you leave on the Sunday, you get to work on Monday, you're all pumped up, and then by Monday afternoon, you've lost any edge. So the way that I coach and the way that I teach is more about what I call clarity. If I can give if I can give that person that tweak, that knowledge base that gives them clarity, that's the direction. So they don't need every individual should have their own rah-rah about it. I think it's the clarity that actually gives someone the ability to know this is where I'm going. And when they understand why they're doing something, that's the luxury that they end up getting where they're looking to go. So hopefully that's what came to my mind as you were saying that.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, you're right. You're right. I mean, my whole goal is to have impact, and that impact, there's multiple things that need to align. And I think one of them is repetition. One of them is creating an experience. One of them is access. One of them is wisdom and knowledge, the education from the speakers. And, we got to give them the tools for success. And I think bringing people back and giving them community and opportunities to connect with others that are like them in the room and seeing them again and again, it just enhances the opportunity for that level of success. And I feel like it's my calling, it's my passion to to do that, you know, and to
You're a braver man. Like, and I said this, you're a braver man than me. I consider myself like, I'm like the fun uncle approach. Like, I get invited to speak at events that you and people put on, and I don't envy you, Jim. All right. You know, from that standpoint, I will tell you, in my opinion, like my game plan is to come and give such a stellar talk and such stellar information. I'm not a reflection on me. I'm a reflection on you. You are hosting the event. Whatever comes out of my mouth, the idea is for people to come up to you afterwards. Jim, thank you so much for putting on this event. You brought in some like major wisdom, major education, major stuff.
Jamie. I got some high expectations. So you ready to roll, baby?
You know what, Jim? You absolutely should. You know that I one of the words in the English dictionary that I teach, and I label it, it's the most dangerous word on the planet, right? Because if you're going to say it, you have to deliver on it, and that word is promise. And people, if they throw that word out there too much and they can't deliver on it, there's a problem, because then you got negative reviews and things of that nature. Okay. Here's what I know I can promise. I'm going to bring my very, 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 very best. All right. And my main mission, my whole business has been predicated on, how do I leave people feeling? All right. They won't not everyone remember every word I say, but they will remember how I leave them feeling. And as long as the focus is on that, Jim, the idea is people are coming up to you. Thank you. I can't wait till the next one. I'm going to tell all my friends and people about the next one. And that, you know, if your expectations can be met by me doing that, then the idea is for me to exceed any expectations you have.
I'm excited, man. I'm fired up. One thing I wanted to ask you, Jamie, is entrepreneurs are always looking to educate. They're looking, you know, to enhance personal and professional development. What is some of the things that you do to continue learning and developing?
Okay. So I'm going to turn this into a fun lesson. And anyone who comes to the event, all right, if they answer it correctly from stage, wonderful. All right. But like, so have you picked up anything in wisdom from me during this last 17 minutes, 33 seconds? Have I taught you anything? Have I given you any food for thought with regards to how you communicate just in the last 17 plus minutes?
Yes.
That's all. Okay. So you haven't taken notes in it, but let's say you did take notes in it. And I said to you, and I asked you a question in one, and you only can say one word. If you want to get better at something that I've taught you today, all right, I get better at selling and communication because I teach this stuff, Jim. All right. Let's say I've taught you something today in a one-word response. What should you be doing to get better at the things that I've just taught you?
Practicing.
Right. Here's a great lesson for everyone in the world who watches this video. I will do the same thing from stage, and everyone will say the word practice. And in communication, the most biggest thing that we need to do is listen. And I just proved, because you answered it, when I say you weren't listening, Jim, everyone doesn't listen. We hear the words that we think people are saying. I said, what should you do? I said clearly, I get better at communication and selling because I teach it. Then I asked you, what should you do to get better at it? And you said practice. Why? Because the whole world is programmed to answer that question. What should you do to get better at something? You asked me, how do I get better at things? I promise you, I didn't invent this concept. Any coach in the world, when they coach something, they get better at it. Coach Michael Burr is going to be there. I promise you, if you ask him, do you get better as a result of your coaching people stuff yeah. All right. So here's my answer. 1, people should become better listeners, just not hear the words that are being said. 2, you want to get good at something, teach it to somebody else and keep teaching it. And because then it will become repetition for you. You get way more opportunities in life to teach it to somebody else than you ever will waiting for that objection to happen. And if you keep teaching it, when you face those difficult conversations, it becomes second nature to share stuff.
I love it. I got to listen better, Jamie.
Well, no, but again, I will prove in front of a room of however many people are there, Jim, I'm going to be proving that they're not listening to the people in front of them, or the people in front of them not hearing what they're saying, because all right. And so when they understand things like that, they end up generating a better outcome.
I love it. Cool, man. That's all I got for you, brother. I appreciate spending some time today.
No, hey, anytime between now and October 27th, my game plan is to be there for you, whatever, you know. Again, like if they like the idea of being around authentic people where I'll share my life doesn't go like this, all right, like each year has gone like this, but there was the 20 preceding years, all right, to learn the craft that got me on the stage in front of the people. But my game plan is I'm naive enough to believe everyone in the world can have whatever they want from life and not have to go the route of thousands of people knowing about them, and not like doing, you know, I've done zero marketing in my life for my business. All right. Like this interview, if it goes out in front of someone and they watch it and they love it and they're like, oh, look at me up. There was no investment other than a glorious 21 minutes of time we don't get back, but it's fun time. You know, and if people can understand, we're actually talking work here. We're talking business. The fact that it's fun in nature, I believe that no one has to do anything on a daily basis they don't want to do. All right. So hopefully that's gonna we're gonna make sure that Nashville's gonna be fun anyway, Jim, because I love Nashville. So I'm gonna be on a high anyway. All right. When just being there. And I'm super excited for Impact Effect 23. It's going to be. I've been telling people about it, so the idea, you know, I'm super excited. So I'm sure that will brush off on people.
Amazing. Thank you, Jamie. I appreciate it. We're excited to have Jamie at Impact Effect 23. Jamie Miller is the master of communication, and it really is an art. And we're excited to share that with you. So grab your tickets, impacteffect23.com. We'll see you in October in Nashville.